Alrighty, this is EMCL recording my thoughts on some LSP against a Thunder and then an LA Mage disc. We're going to hop in, I'm going to pause a bunch and zoom ahead and zoom back and whatever. There is audio, but it's their comm, so I have it muted, so it's just going to be me talking, so there won't be any game audio. Alright, so most importantly, you see what comp you're playing. You're on Blade's Edge, which is a specific map. On this map, I'm going to share some knowledge. It's pretty important. If you're on the north side of this map, which you guys are, you can knock over these edges. So you don't have to knock only over the middle. You can actually knock over the edges of the bridge. If you're on the south side, so along here and then this one behind this pillar, you cannot knock. The heuristic I use to remember that is S, south, is safe, N is not. And so if you're in the north side, you can knock and you can get knocked, but on south you can't. So anyways, if you let the Thunder come to you, you should get really easy knocks on the Warrior, Shaman, Pally, whoever you want to knock. Speaking of positioning, it's important that you stay up. You as the casters, you always want to be above your the enemies if you can, especially with the Warlock, so that he can port back. I already previewed this match, so I know what's going to happen positioning-wise, but ideally you want to stay up. General strategy is especially, well, it actually changes a little bit depending between Destro and UA, but you're with a Destro lock. You, as the Shaman, want to be really aggressive. You want to be pushing towards their Pally at all times, keeping him clean, bothering him with roots, shearing him when you can, and ideally your Warlock can push with you too. Your ideal target, frankly, is actually Pally is the best, and then it's Warrior and then Shaman, and you want to be using Hex on cooldown as well. So really, you're pushing towards the Pally, you're hexing when you can, and then beyond that, you just want ultimate uptime. You just want to be doing as much damage as you possibly can to anything that you can be hitting, and then trying to help your team when they need help with stuff. So we're going to let it play, and then I'll pause it soon as we see what happens. So you drop totems. What I do is actually I stay mounted, and then I drop totems around here. So I jump off my mount, drop totems, and then the first thing I do is going to Frost Shock the Warrior and then start purging him so that he can't charge to my teammates. Looks like he's literally mid-charge. I think you can see, yeah, your Warlock is like in charge stun. You want to ideally get a couple purges off, maybe a root off before your Warlock is charged so that he can also start getting some casts off. If he can start with an Immolate on someone, he's super happy. Your Pally actually should be playing further back a little bit. So he's here. The first thing that I look to do is I would start asking your Warlock for a Shadow Fury on the Shaman, and then you can either either you can Hex the Shaman, or you can fake Reflect on the Warrior and then Hex him full. Other than that, you should be pushing forward more as well, so then you can get a knock on the Shaman, and then your team is really happy. Or you can maybe knock the Pally, but that's harder because he'd have to really push up. That knock would be on this angle, so you'd go here and then you knock him here. It's a little bit risky, so you got to be really comfortable doing it, but it's something that I would be aiming to do, and me generally pushing towards their Pally so he's not free casting. Ooh, okay, so they just ran forward. They're on top of each other. This is really silly of them. You can get a double Shadow Fury into a free Hex on Warrior. I would definitely do that, and then I just start casting on this Shaman. Might even be worth lusting on the Shaman if the Warrior doesn't trinket immediately. Or you can Shadow Fury both of them, Hex the Warrior, and then move towards the Paladin if you want. But he gets the Bladestorm. While you guys are on the Bladestorm, that's not good. He should immediately jump. The guy will turn. So you run away from your Warlock here. Your Warlock jumps off, and then he's going to come towards you in the Bladestorm, and then you have to back up. But you don't want to be on top of your Warlock's pet either. Kind of awkward positioning. Good Bladestorm by BCW. You do get a Hex on the Shaman. I'm actually curious how you got that Hex. Shouldn't he have Ground and Shear up? Where do I see people's cooldowns? Well, I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, you just cast it. Okay. I think he had both Shear and Ground, but you got it, so that's great. And then you got his Trinket. So now the rest of the game, you're looking for Shadow Fury Hexes on the Shaman. Specifically what you're looking for, and I know a bunch of stuff just happened, people got knocked, whatever. Specifically what you're looking for is you're going to get a Shadow Fury Hex on the Shaman into a full Bloodlust. And you're going to have 9 seconds of Bloodlust while the Shaman is just sitting in the Hex. So your Pally just used Divine Sack. Oh, you're pushing down the ramp. That's not good. Your Warlock actually has a portal. So you just push towards them, and you just trust your Warlock to just port up, or you go to the edge so that he can cast, and you keep your Pally up there. Once you're down here, you really can't get back up. Not easily, at least. He can port, so he ports, but you guys walk down the ramp with him, so everyone is kind of in an awkward spot. If I was the Thunder, I'd actually be attacking the Pally here, to be honest, but it's all good. He got an insane charge on your Warlock, and you're in kind of a sad spot, as the Pally can just free cast, free plea, free do anything that he wants, and there's really nothing that you can do about it. So you should be full crossing if you're already here. You should be full crossing to the other side to go back up the ramp. You really want your positioning. That's your Trinket Tremor. You have Hex back up. Everything right now. Oh, it should have been a Shadow Fury Hex on the Shaman, but I think the Shaman's in an awkward spot, so not much you can do. Anyways, with this Shadow Fury, you can EM. I don't think he has a Flame Shock on him. Looks like he doesn't. So maybe Flame Shock EM if you have the cooldown. Try to force Shield Wall or Trinkets from people. Looks like their Shaman grounded there, so you wouldn't have gotten the EM. So you obviously, you set a Hex. It broke to your Reflected Flame Shock. That's kind of funny. But again, your Warlock doesn't import. Like, everything is really sad right here. Yeah, you're just using cooldowns, bops, and stuff to try to get him. You have a Hex for the Shaman, would be sick to get it. Looks like he doesn't have grounding for a second. So the next Shadow Fury, which is up now, should be on the Shaman, and then to a full Hex. Oh, triple Shadow Fury is available right there, too. Looks like you're just moving and going yourself. I'd frankly, yeah, good cast, and then I just Lava Burst up this ramp. And then your Pally can just full drink. He's below, he's like way behind in mana. What was that knock? Where's your Pally? He's still up there? Okay, so really bad knock by their Shaman, which is really good for you. I can't pause the spacebar. You, as you see this stuff about to happen, their Warriors charging ahead, and their Pally and Shaman are right here. This is the best knock ever. So you knock here, you knock them, position here so that you can't get purged. You Bloodlust, and this forces Shield Wall. He'd immediately have to Shield Wall, and you have so much pressure. You get a full Hex. That's Bloodlust. Oh, you got Hodged. I'd Bloodlust. Your Warlock jumped down, so I guess Bloodlust won't do anything. Looks like he just used Bloodlust as soon as the Shaman got back, so he just instantly purged you. And now everyone's grouped up again, which is really awkward. Did your Warlock run up? Generally, as the Warlock, I'd recommend he stays down until he is forced to port up, and then you guys just come to the edge to give him LOS on people. You guys are all running. Your Pally Zoom. This is going to be a really, really impossible game from here. I think it's all about those two pieces. One was Bloodlust timing, and the other was general positioning. The positioning was more important. The biggest recommendation by far, in general, is push on their Pally. It'll help make sure that you're not that behind in mana. The reason you're behind in mana was the first Blade Storm on your Warlock. And then you guys went down with him, and he was just in a sad spot. That's LSP. I'll just keep this rolling. So we're looking at Ellie Mage Disc. Let me pause it on what you want to do. I think you know this, but all you're trying to do is protect your Pally. You got to stop deep sheeps when they're going to try to turn to you, but they should go really hard on your Pally in the very beginning. And so if he gets a good AoE sack, that's great. The most important cooldowns that anyone has in the game right now are your Paladin's Trinket and then your Paladin's Bubble. You got to try to protect those as much as you possibly can. Make it like you don't want him to have to Trinket deep on himself, and if he has to Bubble to save himself, that can be rough too. Your targets is probably the Mage most of the game, but you can turn and hit the Priest if he's in the open as well. I don't know if I'd recommend hitting the Shaman too much. They can really protect themselves from casters pretty easily. Also, remember the knock stuff I told you? So you're starting on the north side. This is the really easy knock. This is going to be a hard knock. The only way to knock when they're positioned like this is on these angles. So hopefully you're spamming Purge here, just trying to clean this Mage. It's hard for me to tell all his buffs. Oh wait, I'm going to pause there. You had a free knock right before that CS. So you can just keep your eye. So you're positioning in a good spot. Right on this angle is awkward for their Shaman. He's not going to want to knock you. But as he comes in, oh, you got Nature Locked into CS. Knock that. You still had a knock on the Priest. You had two knocks there. Look out for those angles. Those are really good. This knock, however, is not good. It doesn't really do anything. They'll be in a good... I mean, you can send an EM here, and maybe his Priest is out of line, and that could get the Ice Block. But in general, this doesn't do too much to help your Pally. I will say, with this knock, your Pally should be running immediately away from the Mage this way, across the bridge, which it looks like he's doing, which is nice. And then really important in this matchup, I forgot as well, is you want to make sure you never get feared with your Pally. If you do, it's basically a loss. Looks like you're about to get hexed. I don't know if you have anything to stop it. Nope. All right, you're sitting the hex. Your pally is in a sheep. Did your pally just trinket? Yeah, he trinket sacked there. You always want to use your cooldowns before your pally. They lusted. Frankly, probably worth counter lusting just so that it makes them purge and not just attack you. And generally, what your pally should be doing is always running as far as he can across away from the mage with you and your warlock, basically playing goalies. Looks like things have reset. The problem is, of course, your pally doesn't have a trinket, and so his only defensive now is bubble, and you really just got to protect that bubble in any way that you can. Does he have Aura Mastery? He does. Okay, so Aura Mastery is helpful here too after he's on deep or stun DR. You should be running with your team though, because you can get left behind in Novas pretty easily. You EM the mage. Oh, their priest was dying. 1 second. All right, so it looks like, yeah, your team is doing a go on the priest, and you're down here. So if you were running with your team, you could have EM the priest and killed them. Here you send some damage on the mage, which is fine. You get him pretty low, which is nice, but it shouldn't have happened. You guys really wanted to be connecting on the same target there. It was good go by your warlock. Unfortunately, you just weren't in line to be able to send your EM or really send any damage to support. You don't want to be alone in the open because you can get Nova'd or sheeped or hexed, and then no one can really help you. Where's your knock? Looks like you used it. I missed your knock, but basically your pally should be running across the bridge. Don't worry about like chasing them to kill them. This is all about just positioning and protecting your pally. So like there, I wouldn't really jump off. I'd just like be playing goalie again so that your pally can run across the bridge. Because unfortunately, I think you're probably about to get left behind. Yeah. So you're pally to really far. I'm pointing at my screen. Really far from your pally. The game is basically over at this point. He's going to have his bubble forced into probably an MD soon, and then probably just dead. And it's because you got left behind, unfortunately. And that's because you jumped off to chase, and instead you just need your pally to be running away, and then you and your warlock just playing goalie. So also looks like you're going to plant yourself and send damage. Unfortunately, you just need to be ghost wolfing and running to your paladin to save him. Your pally can die at any time in a deep, especially when he doesn't have trinket. And bubble isn't really going to save him because they've got Priest MD. And just keep in mind, by the way, the other team is triple Dispel, so he never has a Sacred Shield that'll last, so he's always taking damage. Let's see what happens. Your pally's in a deep here. They're both casting on him. He bubbles. He gets MD'd, and you're sad now. Maybe he can get away. So you have to make sure again that you're blocking them. Oh, don't get double feared here. That'd be really bad. Looks like you're feared. Yeah, you're feared. They knocked your pally, which actually is helpful to you, but it's still probably too far. I would assume that he's about to die. No, he gets away. Okay, that's really good. He gets away and he has his trinket back, which is super nice. The priest doesn't have a ton of mana. Did he fiend? It looks like hard for me to tell. Oh, yeah. He used his fiend at some point. Maybe he just did. And they hex your warlock. He can't get out, and they're just chasing after your pally. It's another deep. Looks like they're trying to sheep him. Maybe they're about to go you. They break it. And you're trying to set up on the shaman. Again, you just want to be protecting for your pally. If your pally ever does get sheeped, so like you're trying to stop deep sheeps on your pally, and if he does get sheeped, you have to run away. Hopefully the pet dispels it, and you just have to line and try to save yourself. And then you got to stop the resheep is like your big focus. All right, your pally's running away. You have to be running with him. I noticed that you're Nova. He's probably trying to come get you and your warlock's Nova. But this is unfortunately could be really awkward because the priest could come and fear, and then your pally's just going to be in the middle of nowhere. So he's running away from you guys. Your warlock does have a port, which is good. Yeah, he ports up to try to save him, but it's probably just too late. Just deep in a blanket. I don't know if that was a hard CS, but regardless, that sort of stuff will happen. You guys played it okay. Just remember, you're always playing goalie for your paladin, and then if they ever do get that hard sheep on him, that's when you start jumping and lining. So there's a couple good spots in here. You can see where my mouse is. Basically, if your pally gets sheeped on top of the bridge, you can jump up and like line here until he's out, and then just have your warlock stop the resheep. Like I said, it's hard to kill Ellie Shamans with just casters because you have sheer ground, Stoneclaw. Are you Alliance? I don't even remember. But if you're Alliance, you've Gift of the Nara for yourself and you can self-heal. So it's tough for people to solo kill you, especially because they usually have to use the deep in order to get the sheep. And so you can always be running and casting and doing a bunch of other stuff. I don't know if this was helpful. Happy to re-review if it wasn't, but that's high level what I think. We didn't get any good knocks here. Generally, the knocks that you want are when your pally doesn't have DRs, so he doesn't have Trinket, he doesn't have Bubble, or he is off of Sheep DR. You want to knock away while he runs away, or you want to knock a solo Priest and then turn and hit the Mage, forcing an Ice Block, and then you're in a 3v1 scenario, and so everyone is safe and happy. So those are the sort of knocks that you can look, is either knock off the bridge, either knock one of them off, so the Priest, the Mage, or the Shaman, or knock opposite direction of wherever your pally is so that he can keep running away.